I'm about to share with you something that happened to me in October of 2021. To this day, it is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. But I hope what I share at the end will resonate with you, especially if you or a loved one has battled depression before.
I'm grateful for my friend Drew and that he's willing to share his story. If we at Topical Bible Studies can ever assist you, whether you're facing something you can't find your way out of, or you just have a Bible question, please contact us using the link below.
Someone once said, "You don't realize the power of a moment until it becomes a memory." Back in October of 2021, there were several moments that made up a week that changed everything. My dad was battling heavy depression. He had been absent from work, which he loved, and battling the darkness of loneliness. My mother was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome and was battling partial paralysis caused by adverse effects from a vaccination. She had been admitted to the hospital, and my dad felt helpless. In fact, he felt crushed. I scheduled an appointment with his doctor, and he reluctantly went. When his doctor asked him how he was doing, he was very transparent and honest, admitting that he had not taken his antidepressants in over 3 months and that he wasn't eating. In fact, all that he had in the pantry were peanut butter crackers. He came to the point where he lacked the will to live. The next week, I was honored to preach a series of lessons for my home congregation who met near my dad. And he offered for my family and I to stay with him, and he even came to the meetings to support me. At the end of each service, he stood beside me, shaking hands with the Christians. Everything seemed to be okay on the outside, but deep down, something was terribly wrong. Wednesday, October the 20th, was the final night of the series. The theme was weathering the storm. As I closed the final lesson, I vividly remember looking at my dad and saying, "If you are battling the darkness, come to the light." And I quoted Matthew 11:28 through 30, where Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." You see, although he came to the meetings to support me, my dad wasn't a Christian, and I wanted nothing more than for him to come to Christ. Unfortunately, he did not respond to the gospel that evening, but I know that he heard it. That night, we agreed on ordering pizza, and it happened to be too late when we called, so my wife used what we have to make egg sandwiches. Then I asked my dad if he wanted some coffee, and while he never drank it that late, he drank some coffee with me that night, and little did I know that would be our last meal together. The Atlanta Braves were playing in the World Series, and as the game was winding down, my dad looked at me and he said, "Well, I hope the Braves come back and win it all. I'm going to hit the hay, and I'll see you in the morning." "Yes, sir," I said. "Sounds good." But those were the last words we would ever exchange. We had planned on going to see Mama in the hospital the next day. Her birthday is October the 30th, so it was a chance to spend some time with her before my family and I headed back home to South Georgia. I got up pretty early that day, but he was sleeping in, which was very strange. I played some PlayStation with my son, I cleaned up around the house, spent some time with my wife and our 3 girls. And around 11 o'clock, I went in to check on my dad to see if he was ready. And I'll never forget the moment I opened the door. There was a haze in the room as well as the distinct smell of gunpowder. My dad had pulled the covers all the way up to his neck, and he wasn't moving. I called his name several times. I walked right up to him. In an effort to keep my composure, I said, "I'm going to go get dressed. I'll be back. Remember, we're going to see Mama today." And when I left the room, I told my wife, "He's not moving. It's almost like he's dead." My wife proceeded to go into the bedroom to check on my dad. When I came back to the room, she was standing silently. We then pulled the covers down to see what was going on. And when we did, we saw the blood from the gunshot wound from his beloved Colt 45 in his left hand. He had committed suicide. He was gone. The bullet went through his heart, through the mattress, through the floor, and I truly believe I was just a few minutes too late. I called 911 to report what had happened, and they asked if I wanted to try and revive him, and I calmly said, "No, ma'am, he's gone." And the next few hours were an absolute blur. Within a few minutes, there were close to 20 people in my house. They asked me questions, and I revealed to them exactly what happened. My wife, being the incredible supporter that she is, lovingly led me to the couch to sit down, and then I started to feel the full impact of what had transpired. Family, friends, and members of the Lord's church began to make their way into the house. I remember one of my cousins ordering pizza and everyone standing around eating and talking, but I felt like a ghost. There was so much noise, but in a strange way it calmed me down. I finally stepped outside to get some fresh air, only to look back and see them taking my dad out of the house under a white sheet. I don't know why, but I asked, "Is he dead?" And they said, "Yes, sir." And that was the closure that I needed. As hard and as brutal as this was, the hardest thing I had to do that day was go to the hospital to tell my mother what had happened. When I arrived, she was sitting in her room looking out the window, awaiting me and my dad's arrival. And she was confined to a wheelchair. She could barely move. She couldn't hardly move to talk. And so we came down, I sat down, I took her hands, and I said, "Cortez took his life this morning. He was tired of fighting. He didn't want to do it anymore." And friends, I hope you never have to experience a day or a moment like that. A few days later, I was the minister at my dad's funeral, and I was hollow. I knew I had to keep my composure to honor him, but the finality of a cold graveside reminded me of Hebrews 9:27 and its reality. It's appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment. After the funeral, we gathered where I had just preached that series of lessons I talked about earlier. Eating a meal with family and friends did my heart so good. Two of my very best friends traveled several hundred miles to be there with me, and that's something I'll never forget. It's been 3 years, and I have no idea what we talked about or what happened in the following days. Eventually, my family made this trip back home, and all I know is that my wife was so incredible through the whole process. She watched the kids, she gave me space, and she helped me tremendously. And I would not have gotten through everything without her. I also had the support of our home congregation, and they were very patient and understanding. I'm eternally grateful for those good Christians. I've shared my story with you in hopes that it'll help someone who is battling depression, or someone who has lost a loved one due to suicide as a result of depression. If you are struggling with depression and trying to decide whether you want to live or die, I urge you to consider the following. First, you are loved. God gave you life and has demonstrated His love for you by sending His only begotten Son to die for you. We find this in Romans chapter 5 and verse 8, that God demonstrates His own love and that while we were sinners, Christ died for us. John says, by this we know love because He laid down His life for us. 1 John 3:16. Second, you are important. You matter more than you realize. Not only are you made in the image of God, you have a soul that will exist somewhere forever. The psalmist says, I will praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Psalm 139:14. Third, you are needed. A son needs his dad. A wife needs her husband. Your family and friends need you. You can overcome your battle with depression and live a life devoted to the Lord. If you are a Christian, the Bible would call you to a vital piece of Jesus' body, His church. Peter says you also as living stones are being built up a spiritual house, 1 Peter 2:5. Just as every part of your body is vital and every brick in a building is important, you should know that you are needed. The text that I used from my father's funeral was Psalm 46, which begins this way. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. I will always cherish that psalm as it came to life for me that day in 2021. The strength I gained from reading the words was what I needed, and it guided me. And I truly hope and pray that you will allow it to guide you as well. Truly believing God would help me weather the storm of my father's death is what helped me get through that day. Meditate on this psalm with me. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with a swelling. Selah. This word means to take a step back and think about what has just been said. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place and the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, The kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and he cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. God is able. God is available. Look unto him for strength. Look unto him for comfort in time of need. Be still and know that he is there for you. Don't blame God. Don't hate God. Draw closer to God and lean on him. And always remember, darkness cannot compete with the light of the gospel.